In the ancient world, where kings ruled with absolute power and kingdoms rose and fell by the whims of rulers, one man's unwavering faith stood as a shining light in the darkest of times. This is the story of Daniel in the lion's den, a testimony of courage, devotion, and the faithfulness of God under the greatest pressure. Our story takes place during the reign of King Darius the Mede, ruler over the kingdom of Babylon after the fall of Nebuchadnezzar's empire. According to Daniel 6 verses 1-2, Darius appointed 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, and over them he placed 3 administrators, one of whom was Daniel. Though Daniel was a foreigner, a Jewish exile from Judah, his wisdom and character made him stand out above all others. The scriptures tell us in Daniel 6 verse 3, "Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom." Imagine a man carried off in captivity, rising to become the second most powerful figure in the entire empire. But this great honor stirred jealousy and resentment. The other administrators and satraps, threatened by Daniel's favor with the king, began to conspire against him. They sought to find ground for charges against him in his conduct of government affairs. But Daniel 6 verse 4 reveals they could find no corruption in him, because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. In a land of intrigue, power games, and corruption, Daniel's honesty made him untouchable, except in one area. The only possible way to trap him, they realized, was through his unwavering faith in God. In Daniel 6 verse 5, his enemies concluded, "We will never find any basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God." So they devised a cunning plan. The conspirators approached King Darius, flattering him with words of loyalty. They proposed a royal decree, one that would elevate the king's authority to godlike status for 30 days. The decree, written in the unchangeable laws of the Medes and Persians, stated that anyone who prayed to any god or human being other than the king would be thrown into the den of lions. Darius, perhaps blinded by vanity, or simply not realizing their true intent, agreed, as recorded in Daniel 6 verse 9. So King Darius put the decree in writing. And with that, the trap was set. Daniel, however, was unshaken. The Bible says in Daniel 6 verse 10, "Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God just as he had done before." Even knowing the cost, Daniel chose faith over fear. Imagine this scene, a quiet room overlooking the distant land of his ancestors, where Daniel knelt, unashamed, his voice lifting up to heaven in defiance of the king's decree. Word of this spread quickly, and his enemies, watching and waiting, rushed to report him to the king. As recorded in Daniel 6 verses 12-13, they approached Darius and reminded him of the law's unbreakable nature. Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. At this, Darius was distressed. The scriptures say in Daniel 6 verse 14, he was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. The king, realizing he had been tricked, was powerless against the unchangeable laws of his kingdom. Finally, as the evening fell, Darius was forced to give the command. Daniel was brought and thrown into the den of lions. But before the stone was placed over the entrance, the king spoke words that reveal his respect and hope for Daniel's God. In Daniel 6 verse 16, Darius said, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." A heavy stone was placed over the den's mouth, and it was sealed with the king's own signet ring and those of his nobles, ensuring that nothing could be altered. Darius returned to his palace, deeply troubled. Daniel 6 verse 18 describes a king's night, saying, "He spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep." At the first light of dawn, Darius rushed to the lion's den. In Daniel 6 verse 20, the king called out to Daniel in a voice of anguish, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" Then came a voice from the darkness of the den, Daniel's calm, steady reply. In Daniel 6 verses 21-22, he answered, "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, Your Majesty. Imagine the scene, the king's face lighting up in relief and wonder as Daniel was lifted, unharmed, from the den. The Bible tells us in Daniel 6 verse 23, no wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. In a swift turn of justice, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the den of lions, along with their families. The scriptures record in Daniel 6 verse 20, for that before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. A grim reminder of the cost of deceit. King Darius then issued a new decree to the entire kingdom. In Daniel 6 verses 26 to 27, he proclaimed, I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is a living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. And so, Daniel prospered under the reign of Darius and the kings that followed. His story became a testimony for generations, a reminder that faithfulness, even under severest pressure, will be honored by God. The den of lions that should have been his grave became a place of divine protection, and Daniel's enemies fell into the trap they themselves had set. To this day, the story of Daniel in the lion's den teaches us about standing firm in faith, refusing to compromise, and trusting in the God who delivers. Just as God shut the mouths of lions for Daniel, he is able to protect and deliver those who call on him, even in the most impossible situations. As it says in Psalm 34 verse 7, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them.